another episode with another very special guest on today. I'm very happy to introduce you to Josh Lannon. He's a serial entrepreneurship expert, Warriors Heart founder and CEO, social entrepreneur, Rich Dad advisor, co-author of The Social Capitalist, Passion and Profits and Entrepreneurial Journey. So make sure to grab that book. So that's in the Rich Dad Advisor series, and member of YPO, Young Presidents Organization. With a personal connection and passion for recovery in 2002, Josh and his wife, Lisa Lannon, opened their first drug and alcohol residential healing center to help others get their loved ones back. That's a great cause right there. So the mission-driven company grew to 6 locations in multiple states. In 2013, the Lannons joined forces with former Special Forces Tom Spooners to open Warriors Heart in Bandera, Texas, outside San Antonio. So Warriors Heart is the first and only private and accredited residential treatment center exclusively for warriors only, active military veterans and first responders. So with a bold vision to bring 1 million warriors home back from addiction and PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, Warriors Heart is leading the way in chemical dependency treatment for our nation's protectors. So basically, we're talking about the United States. Josh is also a leading professor at the AKKI, which is American Kempo Karate International, international seminars, and teaches martial arts worldwide, including Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, is part of the Warriors Heart Recovery Program. Josh's work has been seen on Today's Show, CBS Health Watch, San Antonio's Business Journal, Time Magazine, Forbes, the Chicago Tribune, Addiction Pro Magazine, and many more. And besides that, there's a lot of different social media links that are going to be linked in the show notes. So make sure to go to warriorsheart.com for the straight access to Warriors program. And again, we included Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everything is going to be down below as well. So quite a long bio, but Josh, I'm very happy to have you on today.
Great. It's great to be here. Thank you so much. And wow, it's quite a bio. I can see our marketing team wrote that. I would have just said, I didn't do well in school, but I never gave up. I'm following my dreams.
Here you go. Josh, a really good man.
Yeah, I try to be.
It's a good bio, right? No, look, I have to read it all. Because I wanted for listeners to understand that, look, you can do a lot of great things, again, in different aspects of business and life, and you can build your own kind of, because I live by the rule, you cannot feed starving person from an empty plate. So you have your plate overflowing. So now, you're supporting people at the same time. So I love the fact. So can you talk about your personal journey? I mean, because you do quite a lot of different things. So again, Warriors Heart founder. So that's kind of important. Social entrepreneur, Rich Dad advisor, author. So how did you get involved in all of this?
Yeah, so I'll back up a little bit because I think it's important is that I didn't do well in school. Like I hated school. I'm just dyslexic. I was an introvert. I was quiet, shy, and I just didn't do well on the school system of you memorize, you regurgitate, and then you're smart. And it's like, hold on a second. I had questions. What about this and what about that? And I was told, be quiet, sit down, and follow instructions. And as a young kid, I struggled with that. I wanted to get up. I wanted to touch things. I wanted to move. I wanted to play. The stuff I wanted to learn about was how to ride my BMX bicycle better or how to pick up girls. They weren't teaching that in elementary school. So I was like, well, this isn't for me. And it really wasn't. So, I dropped out of high school. I just wasn't good at it. And, thank goodness my father is an entrepreneur. And he said, Josh, I got to teach you how to run businesses because you're not good in school. You're not a very good employee. So you're going to have to figure it out on your own. And he was right. I got a job as an employee. I didn't do well. I had one job, lifting boats in Hawaii. I was lifting them out of water and I'd power wash them. I was good at my job, but I also got fired there. I was like, my goodness, okay, what am I supposed to do? So there's guys like me, there's hope that you can become a successful entrepreneur if you work hard and you get the right education. So that leads me into Robert Kiyosaki. is that I didn't have any financial education. And, I got the book Choose to Be Rich. It's an audiobook series because I struggled reading. Got the audiobook series and something clicked for me. It was like, I can do this. I didn't know what, but I just knew that, hey, I could actually do this. I had the drive, I had the passion, but Rich Dad Education, the financial education, started to put a framework around it for me and some structure to it. I'm also in the martial arts. I love martial arts, probably because I'm scared to death of fighting. So I did it. And I did a lot of it because I was afraid of it. So I had the discipline from the martial arts. And then I started to take that drive into studying financial education. And that's when my whole world changed, is that I became a student of life for the first time.
That's a good entry point. That's a good journey. I mean, and that's a definitely good story. And I'm sure there's many more stories in between of that because
Oh, for sure.
yeah, because we see, like, at the end of the day, we see you here on this podcast. It's great. It's awesome. Successful person. That's what people call, yourself. Oh, good. It's, Josh is successful. But look, there's in between, there's a lot of different decision making moments, which is some of those are groundbreaking that takes you to those places, 10 or 15 or 100 years later.
Right. Well, and, we all have our own definitions of success.
Yeah.
Someone may see me as successful, but I don't see it as in myself. Like, now I'm not successful. I want to reach this or I want to reach that. So, what is it? How do we break it down?
Mm.
So, for my wife and I, as we measure it in health, are we healthy? What's our wealth? How much time do we have to live our lifestyle without working? And what's our happiness? How do we measure success in health, wealth, and happiness? Because it's so much more than just money. I mean, money's great, but it's also a drug where you get some money, you want a little bit more, you get a nicer house, you just keep acquiring. It's like, this can't be an end game because there is no end game.
Hmm.
So what is it? Health, wealth, and happiness. And that's helped ground us and also keep us very mission focused on not getting caught up in the pursuit of money just for the sake of acquiring more and more and more.
Hmm. So, okay, so talking about health, wealth, and happiness, there's three kind of core items that I just
Hmm.
marked here on a paper also. So where people should focus on, again, you being a martial arts, instructor, professional there as well. So is it the wealth? Is it the health, happiness? Where's the beginning of this kind of abundance life?
Well, first, I think the beginning is identifying where you're at. It's like, hey, here's where I'm at in my health, here's where I'm at in my wealth, and here's where I'm at in my happiness. And being truly honest with yourself, and having like a baseline. Okay, do I have any passive income in my life? Yes or no? Okay, well, what's my measure of success? My passive income exceeds my expenses. Okay, great. Now I have a goal. Okay, what about my health? So I think you look at it holistically as all three of them together, not really one or the other, because they're all connected to each other. So, for instance, my health, am I able? How many push-ups can I do? 10. Okay, great. What's your goal? I want to do 100. Awesome. Okay, now we have a goal. How fast can you run, or how many squats can you do, or whatever it is? Get a baseline. Here's where I'm at. Honestly, this is where I'm at, and then this is where I want to go. Same thing with happiness. Am I truly happy in my marriage? Are we spending quality time together? Am I spending enough time with my kids? Am I being the father or mother or whatever that to my children that I want to be? Am I being the leader in my family that really I know I should be? Okay, if not, what do I want to do? So then you start to develop a game plan on it. Okay, this is where I want to go, this is what I want to do. Where am I deficient in my life? Well, I don't have a personal trainer in my health. So let me get a personal trainer. Let me get some blood work done and see what's going on. Let me get some supplements. My wealth. Let me get a coach. Let me get a mentor. Who's done it before? You know, uh, who can I ask questions about? And happiness. Who has great marriages that I look up to? Now, are all marriages perfect? Of course not. But I'm not going to take marriage advice from someone that's been divorced 3 times and alone. I'm going to go to someone that's been married for 30 years and go, how'd you do it? What worked? What didn't work? So start to pick your mentors from people that have been there, done that too. So
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. So at the same time, look, it's a very great perspective that you brought because I think a lot of those people, like give an example of 3 divorces. A lot of those people, when you come across in life, and it could be business, could be relationship, finances, anything like that, right? Like
Yes.
you will have those people telling you, like, no, look, man, believe me, I've been through this. Like I haven't
Uh-huh.
failed, you know. So it's very
Now
interesting.
you can, yeah, you can learn from their failures,
Yeah,
but don't take advice on what to do.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's like someone that's not successful in business, or, they have no wealth of their own. I'm not going to take financial advice from them. I may see what not to do,
Hmm.
but I'm not going to invest in what they're investing in. Or, it's just, it's not congruent.
Exactly. So talking about investing in yourself. So because you mentioned the book "Choose to Be Rich," an audiobook, right?
Mhm.
And kind of, I do believe, because I'm not even gonna bother asking you a question. Do you believe that entrepreneurship is kind of inherited? Because at the same time, you had a father who was a business-oriented person also. So maybe there's something there as well, that kind of a little bit of a gene thing that brought you up to where you are right now. It could be not.
Well,
But go
I
ahead.
I'll address that if that's right. Is that I think we get some of our drive from our genes, you
Okay.
know, um, but I think entrepreneurship, stuff like that is taught. I was lucky enough to have a father that thought like an entrepreneur, so he would provide information. Well, what about this? What about that? And I would start to have to figure out questions and answers to questions instead of just here's the answer, shut up and do what you're told. Because that's not education. Education is a duce. It's to draw out from within. It's not to shove the information in. And
Hmm.
I think our educational systems are backwards. So as a parent or a family member, it's so important to draw out from your children, well, what are their gifts? What do they like? You know, uh, Keep them in question is so important.
Mm, yeah, exactly. Because I love the fact that young kids, when they're small, everybody's questioning everything, right? It's like,
Oh
why is
yeah.
this? Why is this? How does it work? Like, and when we grow up, we kind of become these wisdom, sources. So like, I know
Right.
everything, I know everything.
I know everything, but I can't do anything.
Exactly.
I got all the
Exactly.
answers,
Yeah.
but my life still sucks.
Exactly. Hey, look, there's a lot, like I told to one of the people that been on a show, I was like, can I tell you a joke? It's not going to be funny because the guy is PhD. So I was like, look, the joke is very simple. Like, what is the difference between a big pizza and a PhD, master? He was
Uh-huh.
like, I don't know, tell me. He was like, I told, a large pizza can feed a family of 4. So, and that's a kind of sad joke, because what we're talking about, kind of traditional system, educational system, that's what it does to the people.
And believe me, I mean, I love education. The question is,
Yeah.
can you implement your knowledge? That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where it becomes real, from just knowledge to application. And my mentor and good friend Robert Kiyosaki says PhD stands for poor, helpless, and desperate.
Mm,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, you know. I know a lot of brilliant PhDs that are successful, and I also know other PhDs that they have the qualifications, the master, the doctrine, but they can't implement it in their life. And I think that's what I love about what you're doing is like, how do I implement this? How do I go out there and apply it and go out and take a risk and go for it? Are we going to make mistakes? Of course, we're always going to make mistakes, but are we going to learn from it? Are we going to keep going and have that strong work ethic to keep moving forward?
Exactly, exactly. Great advice. So, what about these educational sources that we're talking about? Again, you mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I have so many people that came to this podcast Sunday talking about Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Hmm.
Cash Flow Quadrant. I mean, there's a lot of different Rich Dad Poor series books that helped so many people break through those kind of mental, make those mental shifts in life and in business. So I think he's just an unbelievable human being for making these
Yes,
resources available to the people, because he understands the problem with the educational system also. So,
absolutely.
so what would
It,
you
it,
recommend, please?
well, yeah, and I'll add why I'm so passionate about it is because in 2001, I was ready to end my own life. Like I was suicidal. My life wasn't working. Like everything I tried just wasn't working. My marriage was falling apart. I was broke. I was desperate. And I was an alcoholic. And that's how I handled my problems. I drank, I self medicated. And being an Irish American, that's what we do. We drink, right? And I thought that was what I was supposed to do. And it worked for a while, you know, in my teens, 20s, but mid 20s, like it wasn't working anymore. No matter how much I drank, it made the problems worse. So my wife came home and she gave me the ultimatum. She goes, either you go to rehab tonight or I'm going to divorce you. And that was a lifeline I really needed because, again, my way wasn't working. So I chose into my marriage. I chose into rehab, started a 28-day program. And that's where the shift happened in my life. It's like, because I started to get down to the root cause of, well, why am I drinking? Why am I so unhappy? Why am I angry? And I dealt with some of the root causes. And then that catapulted me into a life of personal development. It's like, I want to study this stuff. I want to figure it out. So maybe I can help other addicts and alcoholics as well that are down and out, put their lives back together. And that's what catapulted Lisa and I into opening drug and alcohol rehab centers. And we've been doing that ever since 2002 and absolutely love it. I mean, that's really our passion and it's our purpose.
Yeah, Warriors Hearts. So for more information, you should go, guys, to warriorsheart.com for the website. So a lot of it you're talking about, because that's what I wanted to ask you about, you know, self-development, as you're talking about kind of coming from this backgrounds of kind of like everybody, like regular, we're not born rich. I think we're on the same page for that as well.
Yep.
We're kind of self-thoughts, right? So can you give some advice for the people, especially those people, again, who are like, look, I don't read, I don't like to listen and watch videos. Like I just don't have the patience. I have all these excuses in the world and I don't find the reasons why I should do that.
Yeah, that's a good question because, you know, knowledge can be gained, it can be learned, it can be applied. But if you're lazy, then you're not going to have much of a chance as an entrepreneur because I work 10 times harder than I ever did as an employee. Longer nights, more stress, take on more risk. But now that I've built up that muscle, if you will, like when you first go to the gym, you start lifting weights, it sucks. It's horrible. The weights are heavy. You know, I don't look good. I look at other people, they're, you know, walking around like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, I haven't spent enough time in that environment. So same thing in entrepreneurism is like, I can't just hit it once and expect like there's just be this miracle and I'm an overnight success. You have to hit it over and over again and over. Even when you're sore and you're tired, you still got to get your butt up and get moving. And that's something that really can't be taught. You know, you're either going to have a drive or you're not. That's why entrepreneurism isn't for everyone. They don't want to put in all those hours. But I tell you, if you cross over and you make it through that initial baptism by fire, it is so worth it. Like, then there's a life of freedom on the other side. I think personally, it's worth putting in the time and the energy up front to push through it. So that would be my advice. Is just know it's going to be hard. It's going to be miserable, but you can get through it. You just got to keep working hard, bring in the right coaches, bring in the right equipment, you know, and then you can get through it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it's painful, you know, to live a kind of normal, whatever it's normal by the society standards, it is painful because we're talking about lack of finances probably most of the time. Relationships are all over the place. We don't have a kind of stability because I think we as people, we want the fun, but we want the stability at the same time.
Of course.
I mean, you know, there is no stability in chaos, you know, if nothing is in order, you know. So what about for the people? Because again, big part, I do believe, and I think you believe as well, because again, being friends with Robert Kiyosaki and all these great, you know, huge people, I'm sure they brought you a lot of different perspective, thoughts, ideas, a lot of mind shifts with that also to pursue and do great in your own personal business. But what about the people? Because we kind of handle the book situation. What about the people that say, look, like I'm an introvert, like I'm scared to talk with people. I can comment underneath somebody's post on social media, but that's pretty much it.
Awesome. I mean, look to your strengths and your weaknesses. I'm also an introvert. That's why I do these podcasts, because it's about me being uncomfortable and going, okay, is this about me? No, it's about sharing the message that I've been taught to someone else that's struggling, and if it can impact them, if they can get just one idea from it that can help improve their life, that's bigger than me. And it's worth my butt getting on a podcast like this and talking to you. Am I busy? Do I have a schedule? Yeah, I have tons of excuses, of course. But you know what? I got to get out of myself and be of service to another person. So for me, that helps me personally, is that to take that higher perspective, to push through that fear. So is an introvert? Awesome. And you know what? On the other side of that may be the greatest gift, because you're a really good communicator. You've just been afraid to say something, so we just got to hone those skills and work through it.
That's so true. I do agree with you 1,000% on that one. Because
Awesome.
I do believe I'm an, introvert also. And I think all of us are introverts and and extroverts at the same time. Because
Yeah,
if we're going to put a science if we imagine geeky guy who loves computer games or something in an environment where there's a lot of business people, that person will be in a corner in that meeting for sure. But if you're going to
sure.
put exactly the same person in the middle of the room with the people who are other game geeks lovers, I mean, he would start opening up and talking with people, and because he's in his own comfortable personal environment.
Right.
So, and
Right.
we can be like that. We can be introvert and extrovert. There's no actually one thing, I think, that we just extrovert. Oh, I'm an introvert. It's
No,
just saying, if you just be in front of the camera, do the things that are uncomfortable, just work through the pain, those kind of simple ideas that work.
it's funny is you throw a punch at me and I'm fine. Okay, let's go. But you ask me to speak in front of a crowd. Oh my gosh, I'm scared to death. And you're like, well, that's weird. But it's just, what are you comfortable with?
Yeah.
And it's good to be uncomfortable. And it's also good to be around the right people too, that can help guide. It's like, hey, you take this position, you take this position based on strengths, based on weaknesses, and move at it as a team too. I think that's key as well, is you don't have to do it by yourself. It's like, get on a team. And like Liz, she helped put this deal together for us to get us on the podcast. Like, there's a team involved in both of our businesses behind the screen that no one sees, but they support us being able to do what we do today.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, shout out to Liz for making this interview happen. So I really appreciate that. So what about another piece, which is again kind of basic, but a lot of people mess it up, including myself, multiple times, and then you come back and reevaluate, and you're thinking, okay, so I'm all over the place. I need to come back and kind of focus. And I'm talking about time management or creating time. Can you talk about that? Because again, you're diversified when it comes to your personal things, and again, your martial arts and warriors heart and different things, and I'm sure there's more behind that also. So how do you kind of create and manage your time?
That's a good question. I forget the author's name, but there's a book called Do It, Defer It, or no, the book's called Getting Things Done, and it's do it, defer it, delegate it, or drop it. So I took a piece of that and customized it for myself. And, I have my quarterly journal, simple journal that I carry around every quarter. And I fill it in every day. And I have my to-do list. And it's what has to be done that day. And then I have my could-do list. Because everything used to be my to-do, like I got to get it done. And then at the end of the day, say I had 20 things on it, I only got 10 done. I didn't feel like I completed anything, and it felt the weight, like energetic weight. So reading that book's like, hey, do it, defer it, delegate it, drop it. So what came out of that was the could-do list. Like, it's okay if my could-do rolls over because I want to do it, but it doesn't have to be done today. And that helped release the load, or the energetic weight that we carry around. And on my top items of what I to do, it's like, hey, I got 5 on my list today. I got to get them done. Check, check, check. And I put the most important things up top, and the not least important, but I was like, hey, I know this one's going to be a little bit harder. Let me do that first, and then let me do that second, and then I'll get into the flow and I'll hit this third. So I will actually think about and plan my day the night before. So in the morning, I can start my day and I already have a plan of the direction I'm going to go. So when certain things come up in life, I know it's like, no, I got to move over here. Nope. Okay. Yep. I'm hitting it right. Perfect. And at the end of the quarter, I go through everything. Is there anything I missed? Seal it up. Boom, goes in my binder, and I get another book. That helps me personally, because otherwise I forget. I mean, there's so much stuff going on. And this also includes, they have the Google Calendar and reminders and all that stuff too. This is in addition to that.
That is awesome. That is very great technique, by the way, so.
Thank
Okay,
you. I
good.
had to come up with something,
Yeah.
again, keeping it simple for me.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, you made so yeah. That's the way in life and business in general. Just keeping things simple, because we as people, we tend to overcomplicate stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, it cannot be that easy. It has to be
Mm-hmm.
something
I
magical.
don't have enough time. It's like, no, that's not true. We all have the same amount of time.
Yeah,
It's just not a priority for you.
exactly.
And that's about being honest with yourself again. It's tough to go
Yes.
into a meeting and say, it just wasn't a priority for me. That's why I didn't get it done. Instead of saying, I just didn't have time. I had so much stuff going on. No, we all had the same amount of time.
Yeah.
It just wasn't a priority. And maybe it wasn't a priority because what else was going on? Well, I had this going on. I get it. I could see why that was a top priority. And this other thing was not a priority.
Exactly. It's layers. You just have to
Yeah.
peel them and uncover what's hidden. So
Instead we just go around bullshitting each other, and think everything's okay. But it's like,
yeah,
quit lying to each other and to ourselves.
because I think it's a kind of down spiral thing, right? So like the promises that we don't keep for ourselves, like you will never feel good. I mean, if you're gonna lie to other people, you feel good for whatever reason. Okay, look, I got rid of that situation or that person, and it's good, for that moment. But everything in life goes down spiral, because personally, internally, you know that you're lying to yourself, which, like, not keeping promises to yourself is probably one of the worst things that we can do, because look, we don't respect ourselves, and once you don't respect yourself, other people, because it's an energy thing, other people will sense that and feel that, and you will see like, oh, people don't respect me, because
It's a tough thing because we all lie. I mean, we do. Even as simple as, hey, we should get dinner sometime. Absolutely, yeah. Hey, I'll give you a call, knowing that I don't plan on going dinner with this guy. I don't want to, but not having the strength to go, no, I really don't want to, because like I don't want to go down that road, So we just sit there and it actually takes a piece of us away, because we're not being in integrity with ourselves. And I'm not saying go around and like speak your mind and be jerks to people, but just really think about it. It's like, hey, how much do I really lie? There's little lies, big lies. Like I need to clean that up.
exactly. I love that somebody on a podcast once told me, I think I remember the name of the person, and he told me, instead of saying I don't want to, he said, I just say I choose not to.
Nice.
Because
That's
yeah,
good.
exactly,
It's a choice.
it's a choice.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very smart. So what about martial arts? Because again, that's a big part of you right now, and part of the warrior's heart is kind of go back into the track of kind of life, and just get focused. So can you talk about how martial arts help you personally in life and business?
Yeah, you bet. So I've been doing martial arts since I was 17. Ed Parker, American Kempo, kickboxing, had some kickboxing fights, did the point karate stuff as well. And then when MMA kicked off, with UFC, Ultimate Fighter Challenge, all that is like, hey, I like this. So started to do that too, and got my butt kicked. So, I mean, I was pretty good on my feet, but on the ground, it was a completely different story. So it's one of those things I relate. So, because there's a business conversation, is I was good in one aspect of business, but I thought that would move over to this other aspect. Like I was good in business, but that doesn't mean I'm a good investor.
Mm.
I'm really good at operating treatment centers, but I'm not a good investor. So I've lost millions of dollars making investments because I thought I was a black belt in investing. It's like, no, I was a white belt over here, black belt over there. So what was cool is like the disciplines don't always carry over. So that's when I started studying Brazilian jiu-jitsu as well. It's like, this is a deficiency in my game. I got to start studying it. So then I become a well-rounded fighter. And it's like, okay, well, what's next? Well, I want to learn how to shoot with a firearm. So I started studying how firearm tactics and rifle tactics. And so again, that's just me as a martial artist. I really enjoy that. So it exposes deficiencies in how we show up in the world too. So that's how it showed up in business. With martial arts in Warrior's Heart, what we do is we're not striking, we're not punching, just because where they're at in treatment. It's like, hey, let's grapple. Let's no punching. Let's just grapple. Submission. We'll work techniques. We'll work self-defense. And it's a great way, because we're physical beings, to get out all that energy and to leave it all on the mat, but without hurting each other. Like there's still a common respect. Like when I tap or say tap, you stop. It's a gentleman's agreement. We good with that? Okay, good. So we have rules. So it allows us to go for it in a safe environment. And with that, we've seen incredible transformations and results from using a technique like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in a therapeutic environment, because then we can talk through it.
Yeah.
Example of that is, hey, you're in a tough situation. What's going on? My little voice is screaming. I hate it. I'm panicking. Okay, does that show up in life? Yeah. When a guy corners me and he's asking tons of questions, I panic and I freak out. Okay, great. Now let's work through it, and then we start applying different techniques on it. So it all shows up on the mat, and it's a good way to, just a tool that we use.
Got it. So I think it's like jiu-jitsu in general, it's a great tool, because as far as I heard, again, I did martial arts, but completely different. Boxing, Thai boxing,
Nice.
stuff like that, kickboxing as well. But Brazilian jiu-jitsu, as far as I heard, it's more of a chess. So I think there's a lot of kind of brain work at the same time while you're working, while you're grappling on the ground also.
Well, and you're right. And with stand up, you kind of control it. Like, hey, I'm going to do this combination, or I'm going to set the guy up, or do my moves, where I'm using force. Where jujitsu is, I want to feel your force and then redirect it, almost like Aikido, but it's on the ground, and it's a completely different side of the art. It's like the more I use force, when I first started grappling or rolling, my instructor would say in his Portuguese accent, "Why are you so spazzy? Quit spazzing out." And I was like, "Raw!" It's like, that's not the best way to move on the ground, and it's not the best way to move in life either. Forceful and spazzy and make things horrible. So I had to learn how to calm down and just start feeling the energy a little bit more, and it was cool.
Awesome, good. So can you talk about, again, Warrior's Heart? How do you particularly go through the program? I mean, how does the process go through once you get a person step in your facility? What is the entire process that you go through with that person?
Yeah, so we're in Bandera, Texas. It's right outside San Antonio. We have a 543-acre ranch that we converted into a healing center. And the healing center is just for active military, veterans, and first responders. First responders being police, firefighters, EMS, that sort of thing, corrections. So for our brand, we speak to the warrior. So when a warrior comes onto our property, they know they came home. Like, hey, I get it. These people get me. They understand me. And it was very important for our brand is that we speak to the customer. And we have detox from acute detox. We have a 42-day inpatient program. We also have outpatient and sober living. So after they complete the 42-day course, they can then transition down to our outpatient and sober living. So we have that full curriculum of care and continuation of care from really start to finish.
Okay, so and how does it look? I mean, do you work so inside the facilities? How long does the people stay inside the facilities with you?
Minimum 42 days for our inpatient program.
Okay. And
yeah, they live on site. We provide everything.
And how does it go after? I mean, once they leave, do you keep in touch with those people, or how do you go about with those?
Yeah, then they qualified as in our alumni program. We keep in touch with them. They also can enroll in our coaching program. We do online meetings, and we've also kicked off, which is pretty incredible, I think, Warriors Anonymous. So there's Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous. there's a number of different anonymous. So we then launched Warriors Anonymous, and we do online as well as meetings here on site. And there's, I think, 7 now different chapters that have started to branch out and open up other Warriors Anonymouses.
Got it. So overall, how big is the problem? If you give us a few numbers again, because drugs, alcohol, anything in that, I mean, it's a big enough problem, and I think especially during these times, and of course, again, you're focusing on people solving those problems, which we're talking about very addictive stuff, right? So, like, give us the numbers. I mean, how bad is it currently?
So, just in general perspective, I mean, addiction is a global problem. So in the US alone, it's 1 in 9 people are addicted to something, drugs and alcohol. In the UK, I think it's 1 in 5. That just might be population wise, and as Irish and Scots and stuff, we love to drink, right? But looking at it then from the population we serve, boiling it down, is in America alone, 22 veterans commit suicide a day.
Whoa.
That just doesn't even make sense, does it? So our partner, Tom Spooner, and my wife, Lisa Lannon, and myself broke it down. It's like, well, what's killing them first? And they're typically, not always, but typically always either drunk or high when they do the final act. It's the case of the F. It's like, screw it, I'm out. And so if we can address the chemical dependency side of it first, we could actually impact the national suicide rate of our veterans in the United States. And that's what we're doing. We're attacking chemical dependency first. And so if you're not drunk or high, then we can dive down and to do some of that deep therapy work on post-traumatic stress, survivor's guilt, depression, that sort of thing, trauma. And so the numbers are staggering. And we've been on the front line for a number of years now that we're taking it head on.
I mean, I'm just shocked a little bit because of the numbers. Again, if we just look at a 22, which I'm sure it varies because there is, depending on a day and probably just the situation and whatever.
And what's reported,
Yeah, whatever is reported. And I think during times like these, I think a lot of the stuff that we're seeing probably, and with those problems and other problems, probably robberies, either physical, online, scamming stuff. I mean, everything is probably kind of just starting, I would say, because this entire COVID situation left a lot of people kind of naked, like physically, like literally on the street naked,
Now
So,
you're spot on.
Yeah, and those people, where are they going to go? They're going to go to the quickest option and solution, which is drugs, alcohol, and all those things. And then they have you to look forward to and make sure that, maybe hopefully you can help them, to turn this, all around.
Yeah, because it temporarily takes away the pain, right? That's why we drink or use. It's either to celebrate or to numb. And to your point is we have not seen the full effects of COVID yet.
Yeah.
The example is drop a pebble into water, and then there's the ripple effect that comes out. Well, COVID was the pebble. We're just at the first kind of wave still of the effects, foreclosures, businesses closing, government control. I mean, there's a lot that's happening. Vaccination, is it going to be mandatory? Is it not? I mean, there's still these ripples that we haven't seen it all wash out. We know suicide is up. We know alcoholism is up. Alcohol sales are up. We know domestic abuse is up. I mean, all of these things are happening. So we're in this right now. And I think we still have quite a few years left until it all settles and like we really understand the impact of the COVID-19 virus that impacted all of us.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say to those people that are listening or watching this episode and they're thinking about, look, like I'm going through a lot of problems myself personally, and I think the quickest solution maybe going and getting a drink, and maybe that's kind of become everyday thing, or going and getting a drug. So what would you say to those people before they go and make that decision?
Yeah, good question. So we're naturally tribal, being that we function best on a team. And a lot of our guys, especially our warriors, they know how to fight on a team. So that's the big thing, is get back on a team. So this particular team, is join a team of sober warriors, someone that's going towards the same goals that you are. Because I could join a team where the guys are still drinking and, tearing it up, but it just makes my problem worse. I want to join a team that, hey, other sober, confident warriors. So I pick up the call or pick up the phone, I make a call, say, hey, I need some help. And that's really the first steps. I need some help. And then the team can support you in that. You don't have to do it alone.
Exactly. Great point. What about the government? I mean, is it possible on a bigger scale to do something with the government when there will be some rules and regulations and legislations involved into all of this kind of at least alcohol selling type of parts and kind of checking the consumerism and how much people do consume?
I'm not a big fan of government control at all. I think you try to control it, more people push back. I think the government's actually gone in a better direction, which is strange to me saying this, that I'm in behavioral health field, is that they went in a better direction. The state's starting to legalize like marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
Is you legalize it and tax the hell out of it. So at least then you can get revenue from it. So I think that would be a better direction to go, is to legalize it, because then it's not underground, and then not make it so stigmatism that it's horrible to get treatment. It's like, hey, it's available. It's your choice. It's freedom of will. We don't recommend it. And we're going to provide education on why you shouldn't be drinking and using and doing all this stuff. But if you choose to, there's also options for help. And I think that's what we need to do, is just empower people to make the choices, give them the information to make their own choices instead of trying to control everything, because I don't think that works personally.
Yeah, I think that's a great perspective. Yeah, I do agree. So can you give some example, let's say just one example of a previous person, again, of course, without mentioning the names, of this kind of turnaround story?
Mm-hmm. Well, you're looking at one. Yeah, I'm living proof of it, that it works. I did what I was supposed to. I followed the recommendations of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I got a sponsor. I went to meetings. I started personal development. I joined a team. I got around other guys that are trying and staying sober, and like it works. So I start with myself. It's like, I'm a living example of it working. And we've had thousands of other warriors come through our program that have taken it on as well. They've taken on their life, which is, it's an incredible amount of courage to do it. It takes a lot of guts to start feeling again, and not medicating and deal with what's going on in between our head and our heart. It's not an easy process, but I commend each and every one of them for giving it a shot.
Okay. So that, yeah, exactly. Because look, when I'm again looking at you, I do understand everybody when they speak about themselves, and I do understand your own personal situation. So I'm super happy that again you came through not just another side where you're not dependent on any of that stuff, but at the same time, as I told you, your kind of plate is overflowing. So now you're helping others to do exactly the same. And personally, like I lost a friend of mine who was because of alcohol as well. So he committed a suicide also. So, and
sorry to hear that.
yeah, but at the same time, I think everybody has a different story. Like everybody who's, if there would be something else sitting here, they would say, look, my story, I had the biggest challenges, because everybody think, again,
of course,
some people using drugs and alcohol, and somebody using just drugs or just alcohol, and it depending on the qualities, quantities, and everything, right? But what would you say, kind of from a personal perspective and personal journey, what was kind of the toughest part for you to kind of shift to the other side?
It was asking for help was the toughest thing, because my father, very strong Irishman as well, Irish American. Irish never quit fighting Irish, and he was a boxer, and I mean, he's a football player, tough guy. And it was in our DNA, right? We never quit, ever. So I thought quitting meant I was failing. So I kept it hidden, and I buried it, and I buried my pain, and I buried all of it. And it was killing me. It was killing me to a point where I ended up in my bathtub with my rifle. I was going to shoot myself, because that's how I know what bullets do to brains. That's how I thought I was going to solve the problem, because I was the problem. I take away the problem, My family's not in pain anymore. My wife's not in pain. Like, I'm not spending money. I'm not doing stupid stuff. Like, I'm the problem. I eliminate the problem. It's the best. It made sense to me at the time that that was the best solution. So I understand it. And luckily I didn't. I just couldn't pull the trigger. Something's just not yet. And I didn't do it. And that night is the night that my wife came home, gave me the ultimatum. Josh, you either go to rehab tonight or I'm gonna divorce you. And she didn't know that I was just in the bathtub.
Wow.
And it was like, whew, okay. So not asking for help literally was killing me physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So that's the biggest thing, just ask for help. And again, we talked about with business, asking the right mentors, ask the right person too for help. Because if you ask a buddy they're drowned in too, they don't know how. I mean, they may have the biggest heart and the best intentions. They just don't have the skill set or the knowledge to know how to do it. So find that person that has kind of been there, mentor, done that, or maybe, has resources to get you that right person and go, hey, I need some help. I'm hurting. That would be my advice. Just be honest.
Well, yeah, it takes me the time because I can actually picture everything once you're talking about those moments
Mm.
is just yeah. So a lot of people, probably including myself, are thinking about luck. I mean, how do you name those situations where you in that moment and you don't pull the trigger and your wife comes back, and how do you call that? Luck, coincidence, God? I mean, how do you name those situations?
Yeah, divine intervention. I don't know. I don't understand it,
Yeah.
but I trust it. Um, there's a lot of people that believe in God, but I think very few people really trust in God. And it's such a big thing. I don't understand it, but I trust it enough to go, wow, okay.
Mm.
She saved my life that night. And because of that, I'm able to do the work that I'm doing today. And to me, that's a miracle. I don't know what else to call it. Again, I don't understand it, but man, I trust it.
So what about religion itself? I mean, do you believe kind of into turning into religion and just putting your best effort when it comes to God and religion? Because I had this kind of conversation quite a long time ago, about probably a long time ago for me, like 5 years
Hmm.
ago. But with a previous business partner, and he told me kind of this very small story. He said, "Look, if you have two people, and both of those people are one is a believer, one is non-believer, and both of those people are reaching for the same goal." He said both of those people will reach the same goal, but the believer will do it faster. And he said that's the power of belief.
Got it.
So, and it makes a lot of sense. So, do you believe personally that people should pay attention to God and and do whatever it takes to trust that also so they will feel more empowered?
Yeah. So I don't know if this is accurate, but there's a perception of the word belief. You break it down, BE space LAEF. So be a lie. So is a belief to be deceived? I don't know. So instead of believing in something, what if I trusted something or I had
Mm.
faith in something? Because it's a whole nother level to believe versus to just have that leap of faith and to jump. And I still don't know. I'm still figuring it out. But I think, free will and choice is important. Honor the person for who they are and what they believe in or what they trust in. And don't compromise your own values. Like, hey, if this is my position, this is my stance, own it. You
Mm.
know, you don't have to be a Bible thumper, but just own who you are and your values and live by example.
Exactly. So true.
And who knows who gets there faster? I don't know if it's a race or not. As long as you guys both got your same goal, then that's
Exactly.
awesome.
Exactly. It's a marathon. It's not a race.
Yeah, and in that situation, would that be heaven? I don't know if I want to
Yeah.
get there first.
Exactly. Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
What about the book? Because I want to mention, because you're a co-author of the Social Capitalism: Passion and Profits in Entrepreneurial Journey.
Hmm.
It's a Rich Dad Advisor series. Can you talk about what's in the book?
Yeah, so we wrote a book for Robert on the Advisor series, Rich Dad Advisor series, on social entrepreneurism. And the reason why we chose social capitalist, because it's kind of an oxymoron. It's like, hey, there's a lot of values in socialism and there's a lot of values in capitalism. So we've taken both and then created our own business model out of that. So we built a business that is a for-profit business, but it helps people. So that's our true purpose, is our mission. Is the money important? Of course, because we want to expand the business. We want to take care of our staff. We want to provide good benefits, all that stuff. But it's not the main driver. The driver is to do better in this world by serving people. So that's what the book is about. It's about being a social capitalist in your own community. Like, what are problems in your community? What are problems that you can identify, and create a business out of it? Why not? Why not build a business that makes money and helps people too? Get the best of both worlds.
Exactly, because I thought the social capitalism is something a little bit different. Because I
Hmm.
thought, because personally for me, I'm thinking when I hear, because I think I'm, still a young guy, a kid, depending who I'm talking with, is when I hear the word social, I'm thinking, oh my God, social media. That's what I'm
Mm.
thinking about. But
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, but that's a great again topic, and that's a great perspective. So I love the book. So make sure, guys and girls, that you get that. So what about that kind of social stuff as well? Because I mean, during times like these with the COVID, if you're watching during the COVID, kind of the answer I think for a lot of those people, because I do believe that again, we talked about that. Look, entrepreneurship is not inherited. You can be taught, right?
Hmm.
And during times like these, a lot of businesses, 1925, established, fancy name, gone
Right.
overnight in 2 weeks, right?
Gone.
Because of the COVID.
Gone.
And now people have to shift their own personal mindsets and think about, okay, so maybe I need to start a business. And again, social media and being here, I mean, people now seeing us probably on a phone, I'm just guessing,
Hmm.
or listening to a podcast, one of the social media platforms. What do you think, again, because you said we can talk about branding and marketing, and I think social media is being a great place for a lot of people to start some sort of a business. So can you talk about kind of brand and marketing and ways for people that can get started with that?
Yeah, you bet. So again, because I study behavioral health and I'm in behavioral health care, is that our labor should be bigger than money. So what I mean by that when it comes to branding is pick a category that resonates with who you are. Like, if you're not congruent, like, I wouldn't sell cigarettes because I don't smoke and I don't believe in them, you know. But if I wanted to be an entrepreneur that provided affordable housing to underserved people, indigent homes, because hey, I want to take care of like people because I lived in a crappy house. It's like, so then that's congruent with me, whatever it is to you. That's just an example. So I would say is that when you create your own brand or you join a brand, have it be congruent with who you are as a person, your core values, because then you could really get behind the mission of the company.
Mm.
If it's just to make a few extra bucks, you're chasing the drug. It's never going to be enough. And it's like, that's hard to say. I can barely pay my bills right now. Really, I just need to pay my bills and feed my kids. Man, I get it. I get it. So then that's when you have part-time businesses, you know,
Mhm.
hey, keep your job so you can keep paying your bills, keep food on the table, but then start a part-time business that
Mhm.
resonates with who you are, and eventually start to shift over if you can have that start to become successful.
Exactly, because I think again, a lot of people will make a lot of kind of bad decisions because they're in very desperate place. Because you cannot make a good decision being desperate. You're just gonna grab whatever comes along. Because you
Yeah, it's a
just
horrible position to be
yeah,
in.
yeah. But
Yeah.
at least if you can take some time off, don't say yes on the spot. Take some time to kind of reevaluate with the information and knowledge that you personally have. Ask some people around before you get involved with something. Because I spoke with one of the Rich Dad Poor Dad advisors as well. You're probably familiar with Garrett Sutton.
Oh yeah, I know
Yeah,
Garrett. Hmm.
yeah.
Very well.
So we had him on a podcast too, and he just came out with a book about, I think it's called social delusion, something to do with the delusion, basically. And he talked about that a lot of people right now, because again, he's an asset protection attorney, as you know, so he talked about how to protect our assets on a digital level also. And I asked Garrett, I said, look, if you came out with this book, so should we be scared about what's about to happen? Because exactly what you're saying, it's kind of just the beginning, this kind of the ripple effect with COVID. So he said there will be a lot of people who will come from the shadows and to the light, and they will be very kind of approaching and smiling, but those people will try to scam you, you know?
Yeah.
So, and a lot of the people who are probably, for the listeners, if you will come across some people, you have to be careful, because during these times, there is a lot of that will be happening. So
people get desperate and they do stupid things. I mean, there's all kinds of scams going on there. So yeah, you just got to be careful. And Garrett's one of our attorneys. He's helped build the fortress, if you will, the asset protection fortress, because it's important. Some people's, that's their winning formula, is to take from you, or at least try to. You know, pirates. There's always been pirates, you know, through civilization. So they just look differently today. So that's something that doesn't resonate with me. I don't want to steal from people. You know, it doesn't help me sleep at night, knowing that I'm hurting people. So again, it's about value systems and, you know, and learning how to protect what you've built, because unfortunately people will try to take it.
Yeah, exactly. So what about what you're trying to build? Because I mean, you're building a lot of great different things. I mean, you're building stuff right now that's gonna have a kind of legacy, you know, personally, because I want to ask you a kind of similar question, but you're building a stuff that will have an impact for generations to come. There will be stories told. I went to this kind of center and it got from there, and now I have the family and the grandkids and everything. So that's amazing, you know, nothing else that I can say.
Yeah. Well, and thank you for that. And people are, I mean, they're already, we have clients tattooing our logo on their bodies, which is incredible. That's just a high honor for us. It's like, wow. So for us being founders, my wife, Tom, and myself being founders of this brand, Warrior's Heart, is our job is to protect it. You know, make sure that it stays in the integrity of it stays whole. So when people brand it on their bodies or tattoo on their bodies, like, they're proud of that. It's pretty cool. You know, I was like, pretty soon we're going to be like Harley Davidson. They're like, don't get ahead of yourself.
That is awesome. So I still want to ask you a question, because again, that's part of the legacy, and you mentioned something about building houses. So what other kind of footprints and the legacy pieces that you want to leave behind you also?
Good question. Yeah, because I mean, we have a number of different investments. We invest with Ken McElroy as well. He's another rich dad advisor. Apartment complexes I'm in. We bought a small 44-room motel that we converted into a treatment center. So I'm here now. We're still under construction, but so we're building this, and the idea is, if you want to be rich, be generous. So in order for me to make more money, in essence, I have to serve more people. Well, how do I do that? I help more addicts and alcoholics get sober. I employ more people, and I acquire more real estate. That's the business model, you know, and it's not about increasing my paycheck. I don't even take a paycheck. It's about expanding the business through serving more people. And I think that could be a huge takeaway, you know, for legacy is, how many people are you serving? That's a good way to measure where you're at. And for Lisa and I and Tom's, like, we want to bring 1 million warriors home. That's our vision. So how do we get there? And that's what we're going through right now is our process. Are our kids going to take over the business in the future? I don't know. I mean, we'll give them every opportunity to. But my daughter wants to be in the FBI, and my son wants to play football. You know, so we're supporting them and their goals and their dreams right now. I mean, they're still young, college and high school. Will they take this over? Who knows? Will it, continue on? I hope so. So all we can do is what we have in front of us today is do the best that we can, because we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring us. So to your point is, hopefully when these guys leave, they have those stories and they take part of Warrior's Heart, what it means to them with them, into their communities, and they create positive change as well.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Thank you,
Guys,
sir.
again, one thing that I wanted to ask you, you have to share this episode, with a friend of yours. So pick any friend. And again, in particular, if you have a friend who goes through similar challenges, again, that we talked about today with Josh, just send them over this episode and show them, look, there's ways out and there's solutions, for your friend. So make sure to pass this episode along to your friend. And again, for you, Josh, I don't know how to say thank you enough, for today, for tuning in here and spending this quality time with us today. I really
Awesome.
appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So guys and girls, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.